This is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who is given the letter in 1968 for 1968 to 2022. This letter, Dr. King talked about the other America. The letter Dr. King wrote in 68 is still live in 1968. He wrote the letter in 1968 to America and the other America. And also, this letter is still real in 2023. It's still real. So I'm bringing to you this morning Dr. Martin Luther King letter to the other American and to the USA. And today, and he brought it in April 4th, 68. It's still real, April the 4th, 2022. It's still real. I want to play it for you. I want you to document it. This is the Seed of Abraham, yellowsite.com. And our post office box is 289097, Chicago, Illinois, 60628 if you want to write us. If you want to call, you call 708-582-0372. The Seed of Abraham, yellowsite.com. You're talking about our ancestors. This is Dr. King's letter to the other America to talk about racism in America and racism around the world. And when Dr. King wrote this letter was given. Dr. King gave this letter for everybody. For you in Mississippi, Arkansas, for you in Texas, for you in South Africa, in England, France, Russia, the whole world. The whole world was Dr. King's letter to humanity all over the world. It's important for you to listen to this prophet of God telling what's going on in 2022 with the murder, the killing, the war in Crimea. Dr. King is speaking about it now. He spoke in 1968 for April the 4th, 1968. Now it's April the 4th, 2022, and going into April, and he's still talking about it into May. The prophecy of Dr. King is real. So I want to tell you that listening this morning, this evening, begin to understand the races that happened to our ancestors that came over from Africa. And we're in a problem right now in Africa. We're in a problem in Kenya. We got a problem right now in Haiti. So I'm asking you to saddle up and get ready to pool your dollars together in order to do something for happening over in Africa where they got the flood as I speak now. Dr. King spoke about wars and rumors of war and slums. And what he's saying now, this is Martin Luther King's letter to the other Americans and to the world. And he talked about a little bit of people doing something but not really opened up for black folks. So the Dr. King letter to the American and the other American and to the USA, you must listen carefully if you're a pastor, if you are a member of a church, and ask, what can I do to make life better for everybody all over the world? Hitler was a killer 6 million Jews.
We look at these problems, we see them growing and developing.
And then you look and see what's going on.
We see the fact that the Negro
Economically,
facing a depression.
we're in a depression in 2022 right now.
More staggering
With Dr. King
than
saying that
1930s.
America can fly, go all over the world, but what you're doing
Is about 4%.
for people that is hungry,
Statistics would say
people sleeping outdoors,
among Negroes is
people
about
sleeping in the rain.
8.4%.
This is Bishop Turner,
These
and
are
I want you to
persons
join
who are
in
the labor market,
with the
whose
crusade
road to employment
of Dr. Martin
agencies
Luther
are
King
so they
Jr.
can be
movement
calculated.
to get to the next level.
Can be
Marching,
because they are
protesting,
still somehow
boycotting,
in the labor market.
whatever it takes
There are
in order to bring us to
thousands of
a
Negroes
standard
who have given up.
of
They've
love,
lost
a
hope.
standard
They
of
come to
bringing
feel that
men and
life
women
is a long
together
and desolate corridor
all over the
with
world.
no exit sign.
So it's
They
important
no longer go
for
to
you
look
to
for a job.
stop, listen,
There are those who would
and say,
estimate
what can I do in my church, with my pastor, with my sorority?
discouraged persons.
They said, take the mask off. How you going to take the mask off? People started dying
That means
because you got a justice for black folk and the justice for white folk. And the Supreme Judge said, take the mask off. And I'm saying, keep the mask on, because we have to deal with white supremacy and racism right now. We got to deal with it
that we face in our
everyday life.
Now the other thing that we've got to come to see now that
This
many
is
of
Dr.
us
King's
didn't
letter
see well during the last 10 years,
to the other Americans.
that is that racism is still alive in American society and much more widespread
It's widespread now.
we realize. And we must see racism for what it is.
And this is Dr. King saying we must see racism
Inferior race.
and how it
It is
taking
false and
charge
false notion.
and how it running over people.
One
And that's what we got to see it for.
is responsible for all.
Dr. Martin Luther King letter to America. Dr. King sat down and studied an imaginary letter for 2022. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote this letter in 1968 when he preached it. I want to share that letter with you today, 2022, and might go on to 2023. This letter is very important for you to wake up. And this is the letter that Martin Luther King talked about.
And after noticing and opening the letter, I discovered that it was written in ill-formed, sprawling Greek.
The letter
At the
to
top of the letter was
you in
this expression,
Chicago, you in Italy, Rome, Germany,
"To
Russia,
the people, when
Africa,
they assemble themselves together
all human beings on the
and
planet.
pass on to the other
Martin
churches."
Luther King wrote this letter
I have labored with the
worldwide.
translation for several days. At times it has been difficult, but now I think I have its substance. And if in giving this letter the content sounds
We own
strangely
every-
Kingian rather than Paulinian,
every week
attributed to my lack of
on
objectivity
Mondays,
rather than
Tuesday,
Paul's
Wednesday,
lack of
Thursday, and
clarity.
Friday, and Saturday, and Sunday.
It is quite
On
miraculous
Sunday from
indeed
11
that
to 12,
the Apostle Paul should be
a
writing a
message
letter
from
to
the
you
bishop.
and me.
And my message
1900
this Sunday is
years
wear your
after
mask.
His last letter appeared in the New Testament.
Monday, Dr. Martin Luther
How that is
King
possible,
movement,
I do not know.
and my
I
message
do
for
not
that,
really care.
take down the
The
racism
important
signs
thing
and
is
attitude.
But
Tuesday,
I can imagine
crossing over
Paul
to
speaking to
ancestry,
us
and the
in
ancestor saying
1956,
we have to stand together.
speaking to American
On
Christians.
Wednesday, Bible class, Bible
Here
study,
is the letter
divine word of
as it
God
stands
And Dr. King is speaking this letter.
I, an apostle of Jesus Christ, through the will of God, to you who are in America, grace and peace be unto you through our
Peace and
Lord
love.
and Savior.
Now, what you make of? She came way over Durban in South Africa.
Durban, South Africa, they had a flood, and what else happened?
Hold on a minute.
In Durban, South Africa, and blacks in America need to get involved with trying to help those people, and our government, local and national government, need to get involved with South Africa. Dr. King's letter to America is that we are being neglected. Blacks are being neglected, and we have not been able to take care of our brothers and sisters over in Africa because of the divide. Now, that's Durban, Africa.
Hold on, let me pull it up so I can see.
Because I want her to give you the information where we can get a group together to send some needed toothbrushes, combs over to Africa. If we can send it over to Premier, we can send it some over to Africa. Truckload can go to Africa. And I don't know why that we have turned our back on each other. But I'm saying this is a turning point in our life where blacks must come together. Humans must come together all over the world. That's in South Africa. They had a flood. Now, what was the conditions there?
It's in Durban, South Africa. The rain has stopped, but the people have just have just started the process. That it's a complete devastation around.
It's complete devastation. I ain't heard NBC, ABC, or none of them carried that story about what happened in South Africa when they play what happened over in Premier every day, 5 days a week. What I'm saying, the media must become involved. It become fake news to black folks. It don't be news. They fake news because they don't tell the truth. Over there, they need toothbrushes. They need house supplies. They ain't got no house. They living homeless. Is that right?
That's correct. There are about 448 have been confirmed killed. 4 dozen remain unaccounted for.
48,000 killed.
448.
448 is already been killed by the flood.
And about 4 dozen remain unaccounted for.
Then they still looking for bodies now as I speak. They have nowhere to stay, right?
Right.
So America needs to step up its game and begin to help. And I want you at least to find out what black agency we can go to when you get home. Call SCLC and see that Southern Christian Leadership Conference and see what plans they got for helping South Africa. I'm going to call some other organizations, and we're going to see what we can do to try to help these people that's homeless, that got nowhere to stay, and we sending billions. Now, we sent $8 billion over to Premier and the Red Cross, and every auxiliary is helping those who going to help our brothers and sisters over in Premier Africa. I'm asking for help. I'm crying out for help. Now, what you say?
You were saying that Premier, he sent that money aid over to Ukraine, and the people in Durban, South Africa are in desperate need.
The people in South Africa need it now. They ain't got no soup lines. They ain't got nothing.
Some of them are still without water.
They don't even have water. If we can get a truck load of water to get people over there, I'm calling on the black community. I'm calling on the black community, the religious community black. Call on the black politicians. Call your politicians. Tell them we got to help South Africa. You're not going to hear it on ABC. You're not going to hear it on CNN. You're not going to hear it on these white stations. We got to go to the internet. We got to go to social media to try to get help. Because I ain't heard ABC, NBC said nothing about trying to help them. I ain't heard the president or the governors of these states to try to help people over there. They're helping everybody. They're bringing all kind of people into America. But what about the people that need some emergency right now? And Dr. King letter in 1968 to America. And in this letter, he's talking about there's two Americans. There's a white American, there's a black American, and those white folks help white folks, and black folks sit down and wait to be motivated. So we need, right now, when that storm hit, Sunday,
Right.
that storm hit when? About 4 days ago,
Showing 4 or 5 days ago.
about 5 days ago, and ain't been no international help. Germany, Russia, ain't none of those European countries come to the aid of Africa, and they come and get all the resources, the diamonds, the gold, the zinc, everything they get from Africa, and they go back. And right now, Africa need help. And I'm going to talk to Sister Chelsea. She's supposed to be going over to Africa today. I'm going to ask her what kind of, what they're doing. I think she's going over to Kenya. But this on down at the coast, right? This at the Irish coast. Well, this happened that.
Right. In the Durban.
This is Dr. King's
I have
letter
heard of you and what
to the
you're
world
doing.
in his death.
I have heard of the fascinating and astounding advances that you have made in the scientific and the material realm. I have heard of your aeroplanes, and I have heard about the fact that through your scientific genius, you have been able to dwarf distance and place time in change. Yes, you have been able to carve highways through the stratosphere. And so in your world, you have made it possible to eat breakfast in London, England, and lunch in New York City.
Dr. King
I have
speaking.
heard about your skyscraping buildings, with their towers steeping heavenward as if to bathe their peaks in the lofty blue. I have heard of your great medical science and all of your advances in the medical realm. And so you have been able to cure many dread plagues and diseases, and thereby to prolong your life and bring about greater security and physical well-being. All of that is wonderful. You can do things now that could not be done in the Greco-Roman world of my day. You can make journeys now in one day that it took me 3 months to make.
Asmodeo,
That is
Michael,
wonderful. You
Raphael,
have gone a long, long
Exodus
way
23,
in material advance.
verse 20.
But America,
And we're talking about trying
I am
to
wondering,
feed those that are
as I look
hungry,
at you from afar,
clothe them. This is Dr. King
whether or not
Dr.
you
King
have
talking about
gone
his
as far
letter
in the spiritual and moral
to
realm.
American, and his
Seems to
letter
me,
to
America, that
those.
although you have
And
advanced
it's important
scientifically and
for
materially,
you this morning,
you
this
lag
evening,
behind
to
spiritually and
be
morally.
involved in uplifting the
Your
humanity.
course, the
Stop
road
the
used to
killing,
talk about improved
save the
means
babies.
to an unimproved
As I
end.
come to you this morning,
And how
Psalms
often that
19,
is true,
Psalm 37, Psalm
you have
35,
allowed the
even
material
with
means
Hitler,
by which you live
killed 6 million
to
Jews.
outdistance the
And we find
spiritual
out
ends
Putin
for which you
right
live.
now is on the same road
You have allowed your
that Hitler
mentality morality
to
to
kill
outrun your
innocent
morality.
people
You
because
have
of the
allowed your
bombs
civilization
and
to
tanks
outdistance your
that
culture.
rides in town and kill
Yes,
farmers,
America,
kill
you
pregnant
go very
mothers.
high in the
So we got
spiritual
to
realm.
deal
In the material realm.
in materialistic,
But how far have you gone in the moral realm?
the
Your
moral.
scientific genius, you have been able to make of the world a neighborhood. But through your moral and spiritual genius, you have failed to make of it a brotherhood. And what does it profit a man? As that same Lord said, that same Lord that met me on the Damascus road, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world with means,
And lose his soul.
aeroplanes, subways, and all the skyscraping buildings,
As Dr.
and lose
King
the
speaks,
end,
St. Luke
the soul?
8:22, the
So
seed of
America, I would
Abraham,
urge you
divine
to seek to bring
miracle ministry,
your spiritual
financial
advances up to
covenant.
your material
Exodus
advances.
14:14, Exodus
I am impelled also to
23:20,
write you
Hebrew 11:1,
concerning the
Revelation
tremendous
chapter 13 verse 2 and 3,
confronting
and
Christians
Revelation
attempting
chapter
to
12
live in a
verse
sub-Christian
17,
age.
Genesis
Yes, I had to do that,
17 verse 12,
for I
Matthew
had to
6 and
live in an
33,
unchristian world.
Genesis
Every
13
Christian has a
and
basic
2 and 3,
responsibility
St. Matthew
to
13 and
live a
8,
Christian in an
St.
unchristian
Matthew
world.
6 and 33, Hebrew
They tell
4
me that there are some
and
among you,
verse
even in the
12 to
churches,
14. Get ready
who
for
give
the
their
trillion
ultimate
flow.
allegiance
Psalms
to
23
the patterns of the
and
world.
Proverbs
They want
13
to
and
be
2,
accepted socially.
Genesis 17 and 5,
They're not afraid
Proverbs
to be
4:22,
ostracized,
Revelation
so they conform
22
to the
1
patterns
3
of
to
the world.
9,
They
Deuteronomy
live by some such philosophy as
29.
this.
Get ready for
Everybody is
Master
doing it,
Musa
so it must
to
be all
give
right.
you the money that you
So
need.
often in
That
your
Dr.
age,
King talked this
writing become
morning
merely something of
on the
taking a
letter
gallant poll of the
to
majority
break
opinion.
through the war,
How many
stop the
are
killing,
living like that?
save the baby. It's
How many people are
important
giving their
for us to
ultimate
understand
allegiance to this way?
that we as a human
But
race,
America, may I say to
you
you, as
might
I
be
said to
in
the
Africa,
Roman
might
church,
be in Italy,
be ye
Rome,
not
but we must
conformed to
come
this world,
together and be a
but be
part
ye
of
transformed by the renewing of your
the
mind.
Spirit.
And
The
may I
Spirit
also say to
to
you
you,
that
you and you.
you have
Don't
a
forget,
dual citizenry.
give me
You
a
have a
call,
dual citizenry.
and I want
You
to
are not
share
only a citizen of
with
this world,
you.
but you are the citizen
Call
of another
me
world.
at
You live both in time and
708-582-0372.
eternity, both in
I
heaven
want
and
to
earth.
pray with you
You must come
about
to see
your
that although
problem.
it is true that you live now in
I
the
want
colony
you
of
to call
time,
me and become
you must
involved
always take your orders
with
from the
what
empire of
God
eternity.
said that will
You
happen
must come to see that,
for
America,
you.
that
And
your
when you
ultimate
call,
allegiance
there will be a
is
breakthrough.
not to the
Dr.
government,
Christian called me.
not to the state,
I'm going to see, can I get
not
Dr.
to the
Christian
nation,
on
but
the
your
phone
ultimate
now
allegiance is to God, and
and let her
sometimes it's
investigate.
necessary to
Lisa, thank
speak
you
out against the state in
for
order to
what you
stand up
did
for
by
God.
South Africa.
Oh,
We're going to
America,
get
will you come to see this?
toothbrushes,
But not
all
only
of
that,
that stuff
America,
we
I have
need
read
for
some
South
of your
Africa.
psychology.
And we
Now,
got to see
you're
what
talking a great
SCLC
deal
going to
about
do, Operation
maladjustment.
Push, NAACP.
It is the
The
ringing
black
cry of the child
organizations
psychologist,
got to come together.
maladjusted.
The black
And certainly
clergy
nobody
have to
wants
come
to be
together.
maladjusted.
And we're
Everybody
talking about
wants to be
the black
adjusted.
school teachers,
But
professors.
America, I want to
They
call
got to
upon
come
you if
together
you're going to be followers
and
of Christ to
begin
be
to heal
maladjusted.
what's happening
I
in our
never pretend,
world.
America, to adjust
And
myself to
I
some
think that's the
things, and I
most
hope you
important
will
thing.
never
Dr.
adjust to
King's
it.
letter is to the
In an
world.
age amazingly
Dr.
adjusted to
King's
war,
letter
I
is to
call
the
upon you to be
conscience
maladjusted.
of man.
In an age amazingly adjusted
His
to
letter
imperialism and
is to the
colonialism,
reality
I call upon you to be
of
maladjusted.
what's going on.
In an
His
age
letter
amazingly adjusted to hate and malice, I call upon you to be maladjusted. My plea to you in America is to be maladjusted. I understand that you have a great economic system in America that you call capitalism. And through that economic system, you have been able to do wonders. You have been able to build up the richest nation in the world. And through through that system, you have been able to build up the greatest productive system
in the world.
that the world has ever known.
Blacks need to be on the board of Chrysler, General Motors,
But America, that is
on
the
the
danger
board
that you will misuse your
of every
capitalism.
corporation, Coca-Cola, Pepsi
I'm not
Cola.
an economist, and
We
I
need to be
cannot
on the board
criticize
and deal with the
your
economics.
economic system
And we're
from
talking
the
about
point of view of the
economics.
economist,
If we
but
don't
I
work,
can
then nobody
criticize it
works.
from a moral
We're
point
talking
of
about
view.
we want
And
jobs
I still
in
contend,
every
America,
gamut
that
of
money
America.
can be the root of all evil. That money can lead one to live a life of gross materialism. And I'm worried that too many people in America are more concerned about making a living than making a life. Yes, American money can lead to exploitation. And so often you have done that. For they tell me that 1/10 of 1% of the population controls more than 50% of the wealth.
Rich get richer and the poor
America,
get
how
poorer.
you've taken necessities from the masses to give luxuries to the classes. Your capitalism can be used very well. You can use it to wipe poverty from the face of the earth. You can use it to lift the whole level of humanity. You can lift it to make mankind come to the point that it is destined to come to.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. letter
You have it at your disposal. Use it
the
for
American.
that, America. Oh,
Dr.
I
King
would that I
letter,
could be with you.
1968
I wish I could say
to
you face to face
2022.
what I'm trying to say to you in writing. How I long to be with you.